Okay. As Nigel said, I'm Andy Smart, or Andrew Smart, as my mother christened me. As he said, I'm the Director of Project Management for Magnox South. And I'm just going to run through initially some background about Magnox South, so you all know what we do, and how we got to where we were started off with some training needs, and how we then moved into an e-learning format. So, Magnox South. It's currently got the contracts for decommissioning of 5 Magnox nuclear power stations on behalf of the Nuclear Decommissioning Authority, who essentially are the UK government own the assets. And our sites are very old, from being some of the facilities being initially put into service in early 1960s, with some sites just recently being turned off from generating electricity back in the end of 2006. We've literally, in the last couple of weeks, rejoined with a sister company called Magnox North, and we're now called Magnox, and we now have the contracts running decommissioning all 10 sites within the Magnox fleet. We, as an organisation, spend between 70 and 100 million pounds a year on delivering decommissioning projects within Magnox South. There's around about 300 to 400 people, maybe even 500, depending on different types of projects, working directly in projects within Magnox. Back in 2004, 2005, the company went through quite a significant cultural change when it moved from being essentially an owner-operator, where they were generating electricity and maintaining nuclear power stations, into actually being a decommissioning projects organisation, where when Hinkley Point A was stopped generating and went into defueling, shortly followed by Bradwell. So literally overnight, the organisation had to change. And it went through quite a rapid change, not necessarily effectively managed, I wouldn't necessarily say. And we introduced a whole load of procedures and processes on how we want to deliver projects. These procedures were basically put in place with very little training delivered on how they were supposed to be implemented and how our project managers were supposed to work to them. So we had a problem where our project managers and project teams didn't actually know how we as a company wanted them to deliver our projects. So we went about a fairly extensive process of putting a self-developed training deck together, where we basically took all our procedures, we gave a consultant the procedures, said, right, give us some PowerPoint slides that we can deliver. That took around about a year to put together. It cost, including the delivery of the training and the people's time out of line, around about £400,000 to £500,000. And we put all our people through a 4-day training scheme, which was mandatory and was completed by the end of March 2007. Needless to say, the training wasn't particularly well received. The knowledge level retention was pretty poor, and in terms of return on investment, I wouldn't suggest it was very great. So we were looking at how do we want to do this differently. We wanted to change to something that was more sustainable, something that actually was more engaging, something that actually people wouldn't have to come out of line to do. So we looked at producing some e-learning modules based upon our original 360 slide deck. The output was 12 bespoke e-learning modules that took our project managers and our project teams through everything to do with how we deliver projects. From simple things like how to estimate, how to plan, through to how do we deal with regulators, how do we maintain compliance, how do we show that we are doing things safely. Each of the modules should take between 40 minutes and an hour, although we're finding that some of them some people who are brand new to this take up to 2.5 hours to go through them. The intention being, we didn't want people to... We wanted them to be able to dip in and dip out. We wanted them to be able to actually do it in their own time or at lunchtime or when they had a spare 5 minutes. The vast majority of the cost of delivering the original training was resulting from people taking project managers and project teams out of line, which meant that they had to recover a week's lost work, which is quite difficult when you're on tight timescales. Each of these modules has a 10-question assessment, which is not recorded. It's there for the candidates' use only. I've gone through the module. Do I understand it? And could I actually answer any questions on it? So in all, there's 12 modules, 12 assessments. And there's an overarching assessment, which is 50 questions long, which is recorded and goes against people's training records, whether they've passed or not their managing projects training. The modules are supposed to be standalone, and they are standalone. And the candidate can go in and out whenever he wants, and he can take as long as he wants to deliver them, to go through them. So, what do we do? A couple of points, a couple of things I'm going to say now in the next couple of slides about some of the messages that, some of the things that we did well or we didn't do well, and some of the things that, if you're going to go embark on an e-learning program, you need to start thinking about, because if you don't, you're going to find very quickly it's going to run away with you. First point, for me, I'm a project manager, so I would say this: you need to manage this as a project. Don't try and do this as part of your day job. If you're already busy doing stuff, this will eat up more of your time than you think. It cost us, in terms of internal time and external expenditure, about 150,000 quid to convert our slide deck into our e-learning format. It's covered about 20 to 30 internal people who are all part-time, so we're doing this as part of their day job. So we had to put a project manager, or wanted to put a project manager in place to actually ensure that the project was delivered and the e-learning was delivered to what we wanted. You need to be clear and realistic about how you want to plan your e-learning in terms of delivery of it. It's going to take you a lot longer to deliver than you think. We put an unrealistic plan in place. Had a very good program plan from our contractor, explaining what they would do for us and when, and what we would need to do by when. But what we didn't do, we didn't fully understand or take on board the actual implications for our own internal staff. It takes time. I mean, the steps we went through, we had base material. We already spent a lot of time putting the base material together. But you go from that to a storyboard. You review the storyboard. You approve the storyboard. To an e-learning draft, review, revise it, approve it. Through testing, further revisions, and then launch. It takes a lot of time and a lot more than you think. A couple of good things that we had in terms of helping us deliver this were things like online review areas where we could get our subject matter experts involved, and they could actually look at it online without having to go to meetings and leave the office. You need to look at what resources you need. I'll talk a bit more about subject matter experts in a minute, but we had 12 different modules which were diverse and therefore had a number of different subject matter experts. And we had to tie in our plan to what their availability was and how they could deliver. Work the plan. So basically, once you've got it, maintain it. Keep regular meetings with your contractors, as well as your own internal staff, and make sure people deliver. You'll be surprised how many excuses you'll hear from why people can't do what they said they would do 2 weeks before. So, prevent scope creep. Be clear on what you want to do and why you want to do it. If you don't manage this, before long it'll run away with you. Your subject matter experts will turn it into something that they want, not what you want. It'll develop legs of its own, certainly. You need to maintain strict change control over what the scope of your e-learning is and what your training material is about. If you don't, again, before long, you'll find that it's not doing what you want it to. Agree what you want to do before you engage any of the suppliers. If you don't, it's going to cost you a lot more money and take you a lot longer to do than you actually think it's going to. We assigned subject matter experts to our specific modules. So we had 8 subject matter experts from the business, all senior managers with authority, and they had to have the authority to sign off on these training modules. It's quite key. You have to get subject matter experts. If you're not an expert in the field, and you sign off a training program saying that's fine, before long you're going to find people popping up out the woodwork saying that's not correct. So we appointed these subject matter experts, held a workshop with them early on to make sure they understand what they were doing or why they were doing it. We made sure that they bought into the process and understood what was going on. And as a result of that, the program went quite smoothly going forward. It wasn't without its problems. One subject matter expert wanted to redesign the whole thing, which we weren't very happy about, or I wasn't very happy about. You need to be clear on who has authority to approve what and to change what. It's say one of our subject matter experts wanted to change the tone of the whole of the delivery of the program. He didn't have that authority, so we didn't do it. You need to have somebody with authority, in a position of authority, to sign it off and to say that actually that's what we want to do. Otherwise, again, you'll find that your packages will not work together. And you need to ensure that somebody has an overview of everything that you're putting together. If you have subject matter experts, which is great, but you don't have somebody looking at the total package, and that is time-consuming, but actually looking at the total package and making sure it all flows together, links together, the same messages are there, it won't work, and you'll find when you're delivering it that the buy-up and the take-in and the retention isn't great. We spent a lot of time designing our e-learning with our consultant. I'm sure that's the same in your industry, in your business. Our guys are extremely busy. They are working all hours, and essentially they don't have a lot of time to spend doing some of these things. So we had to make sure our modules were interactive and maintained interest throughout. And when I say interactive, you have to make it interactive in that it's different interactions. It's not the same click a button, click a button, click a button, because again, they'll lose interest. So we basically thought through what we wanted to do and how we wanted to present our messages and our material, and basically made it fairly interactive for them. We use real people, and I mean real people as in project managers within our business who are delivering projects today, and using real projects in our business. So when the guy who's now sat there doing the e-learning module clicks on, he can see Jason White, who's that chap there. He knows who Jason is. He knows he works at Bradwell. He knows that he's working on a certain project. And the project that's the case study is about is a real project. He can go and see it if he wants to. We made sure that all the sites were represented in our learning. So we've got a geographically diverse company. It's from Somerset across to Suffolk. Every single site was represented, and every type of project or different version of projects was represented also. So we got a mix of what the business is about, again, to help retention. One of the things we did previously was a gap analysis of knowledge, and it was clear that our guys were very clever but weren't retaining knowledge and weren't taking learning from the classroom into an implementation because they couldn't make the connection between what they'd learnt and what they did on a day-to-day basis. So we were very clear, and we wanted to make sure that any e-learning we did was very much based upon us, our process procedures, and our people and our projects. So we used our own people in photos, and we used our people in case studies. Really quite important that. If you see a generic model said there, it's not the same as seeing somebody who you work next to and can go and talk to about what they did. Doing that also gave us a secondary benefit, and it also, in some respects, rewarded these guys and the projects that the people associated with, because all of a sudden they've been held up as how to do things and what went well and all those good things. We wanted to make the e-learning a reference tool. We didn't want it to be a one-off approach, and the modules are there, and our guys can use them whenever they want them. There's no point, to my mind, having a wonderful tool that you spend a lot of time and effort putting together, and then only using it once every 3 years. Make it available, make it such that they can use it if they want to. Not everybody's keen, certainly in our business, and picking up a document and reading it to work out how they want to do something. People want to see pictures, some people want to see examples. So we made our e-learning modules adaptable so that people could do that. It's critical that you make sure that when your target audience understand what they're doing, what this is about. A number of times in my past I've been told I've got to go on a training course. So you go and do it, fine, I've learned about it. So what? Couldn't see the interaction or why it was important to me. So it's important that target audience understands why they're doing it and what's in it for them and what they're going to get out of it. We were quite clear to our projects. Quite a lot of them were failing, weren't progressing as quickly as they would like, and were failing to meet compliance standards, predominantly because they didn't understand our process procedures. So we were very clear onto them about the benefits, and as a result, the buy-in in terms of doing case studies, the buy-in in terms of using it has been great. You've got to choose your supplier carefully. We competed this work, and we didn't choose the cheapest. We chose the company that we felt that understood us, had the right sort of product, the right sort of feel to it, the right sort of people, and they could actually understand what was a fairly complicated process and content, and that could actually deliver our e-learning for us without excessive advice or support from ourselves. And InfoTransfer, who were our contractor, did all that for us. They did a great job. They'll give you the sales pitch, but from my point of view, the fact that they could understand our requirements and hit the ground running essentially was a godsend. We have developed I wouldn't say pretty good, an excellent product at the end of it that's within our business has been lauded. We're about to roll it out across our northern sites because of the fact that it's so good. And the whole process has been a good one. The key thing at the bottom for me is enables better use of our own internal resources. If you ever talk to InfoTransfer people, Debbie will tell you, getting hold of me, and I was the guy who had to sign it all off, is virtually impossible, or was at times. So actually being able to focus my time on stuff I needed to do rather than spend all my time reviewing and changing and commenting on the e-learning stuff meant I could be more effective in my actual job. The online review area helped in this area as well. The fact that we could actually, without having to go traipse around the country to actually meet people, we could actually do things online. That was perfect for me. So my final slide, so Nigel will be pleased that I've not overrun, I think. E-learning isn't everything. We carried out a gap analysis some years ago, and we developed an integrated, blended training approach. Some people, classroom training works, they love it. Some people, it doesn't. Some people love e-learning, some people don't. We are trying to put a blended approach together where we use e-learning followed with classroom training, with coaching, mentoring, one-on-one support, whatever. One of the key things that we found is that whatever you do, you back up the training with some proactive interaction. And I don't mean having somebody from the training department ring up and say, did you go on the course, did you like it, what do you think of the food, the venue, etc., etc. Actually, are you using it? Did it make a difference to you? Is there anything you'd see changed? What are the barriers for you to implementing what you've learned? Generally, that's the line manager or somebody who's in a projects environment talking to them about the courses. That is helping us, I think, making sure the knowledge is retained. We're actually making changes and making things improve. So, that was it.
Great.
Thank you.
Andy, thank you.